Welcome to episode 110.
Brene Brown's Gifts of Imperfection, Guidepost 9.
Oof. Cultivating meaningful work. Letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but so join us as we discuss what it means to cultivate meaningful work.
And how our culture can make that challenging and what we can do to cultivate that meaningful work, at home, in relationships, and our spiritual practice.
Stay tuned. Welcome to the Witchy Wit podcast, where we look at life through a witchy lens. I'm Kimberlyn.
I'm Leilani.
At Witchy Wit, we explore current events,
Ideas,
music and books,
and experiences in ways that recognize energy and life in everybody and everything.
We are both real witches.
And we bring two real perspectives through the lens of our different ages,
races,
and backgrounds.
With a healthy skepticism for what we have been told is true, our conversations are raw, candid, and vulnerable.
Join us as we cast a spell to uncover what we each know is true in our intuitive, witchy selves.
Welcome to episode 110.
Brene Brown's Gifts of Imperfection.
Guidepost 9.
Cultivating meaningful work.
And letting go of self-doubt and supposed to.
Ooh, all right.
Okay, so it's a mouthful, and it's going to be a mouthful of our episode, of our discussion. But before we get into that, let's see where we are right now. Okay, yeah, so I will start with our check-in, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it's called the emotional freedom technique, I think, and it's called, but people often refer to it as EFT, and it's basically a system where you're saying a kind of an affirmation that acknowledges maybe some condition that you want to work through, and then giving yourself some grace. And while you say this affirmation, you tap various meridians on your body, like your around your eye, under your nose, your chin, your collarbones. Thank you. Your collarbone, under your arm, and your armpit. Oh. You never did that one?
No, I
No, really? Mm-hmm. Okay, but you've done this.
Yeah.
And then the karate chop heart. Okay, so I started doing that because I'm having some physical issues I'm not even going to get into, and then I realized and it's I'd forgotten about this as a modality. I haven't done anything with this easily in 10 years, and I'm going to say it's probably closer to 15, but I'd forgotten exactly how many tools are available to us to work our way through issues, and I think to myself that I think I just forget because, something else comes up and I think that might be something that I can work with. But I just, sometimes I'm kind of in awe at the different ways that we can, with intention, work with our body and work with our spirit and our emotions to kind of help ourselves through issues. And I think one of the things that I concluded was, if only I can remember them when I really, really need. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
When you're staring at somebody, that would be a wonderful opportunity for a lot of these things to kind of play in the back of my head. But instead, I'm just staring at them with my mouth open, and then 20 minutes later, I think of ways, not necessarily for a comeback, but just ways that I could have handled something with a little bit more grace. And I think if I maybe use these modalities a little bit more interspersed, as opposed to just kind of focusing on one for a few years and then another for a few years, that maybe they will be more apt to rise up when I need them. I don't know, but that's at least my thinking.
This is my favorite one on
the collarbone.
The collarbone, yeah.
So I can't remember because each one is associated with a meridian that's like an organ and an energy level and all that kind of stuff. So it's that probably tells you something about you.
Yeah, I would be interested to know. Do you have a favorite one?
I think my favorite is probably under my eye. Yeah, I think it's under my eye.
Now I'm curious what they are.
And then the crown, and then the crown,
Oh,
and then the crown.
uh-huh.
That usually, because I do the crown at the. Some people start there. I do the crown at the end. And do you remember how you did it? See, it's been how long has it been since?
Like 2013.
Okay, see, that's about what it's been for me, and I just remember by the time, and I don't know if it's because I've just gone through all of the other points, but by the time I start tapping on the crown, I usually can feel something kind of settle, and then how I know I'm getting there is there's a light behind my eyes, like my eyes are closed, but like a light opens up, a space opens up in front of me in my mind. In my mind's eye. So I'm gonna change it from the eye to the crown.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So anyway, that's me. What's going on with you?
Well, I had my first introductory to throwing, the ceramics class.
Yes.
And it was a really great opportunity for me to practice the Buddhist philosophy of. Well, that's funny. I just forgot it.
Detachment?
Yes.
You practiced it, but maybe a little bit more
maybe
practice.
I keep forgetting it. Non-attachment?
Non-attachment, yeah.
Because I kept trying to like make the best cup I could, and then every time I would smash it down and start over and not keep it. So, but what I wanted to share was the teacher was writing on the board. There's like different stages that the clay goes through, and it starts off as clay, like as just the regular clay, and then like and then she was like, so then we like let it sit out. You put it in like a bag, and it sits for a week, and then it's a certain thing, and then we like add glazes to it, or you add water to it to like shape it differently, and then you do all these different things, and then you'll put it in the kiln. And now she's like, so she like is writing down all the stages, and what I wanted her to do was like write it down with like a little arrow that says like add water, add fire, add air, because to me I was watching her and I'm like, oh my god, this is elemental as fuck, like this is so witchy. That's not how she presented it. She was like very scientific about it, which I actually thought was kind of cool, because she's very artsy, obviously. But like she was like talking about like the size of the molecules and what happens with the different things, which I think is great. But I was coming from a very witchy perspective of like, oh my gosh, the elements are here. And then as I was working with
Hail and welcome.
Right, I literally was like talking to the elements as I'm like sitting over the wheel. And I would invite more air, and I would invite more water, and I was talking to the clay and like letting fire know that like it's on its way eventually. Not today, because I was practicing impermanence, and detachment. So
I like that. Practicing impermanence.
Yes, and detachment. But so yeah, I knew going in, because of our last conversation, I had been thinking about how witchy it was, but then when I was sitting there, I almost cried. I just wonder what the people in the class, I don't even know if they noticed me, but I was flinging clay everywhere, getting teary-eyed at the wheel.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure everyone was having their own experience.
I think so.
And for the most part, if they looked up, they had other things on their mind. Like they might have glanced and, unless you were like sobbing, like crying into the cup or something, using the cup to catch your tears.
Actually, that's kind of magical. Like, what if I did bring something and like worked it into the clay?
Like urine or something? Or I mean, maybe your tears or spit?
Sure, anything.
Wow, okay. Like shavings from your skin?
Sure, anything. Anything witchy that like on a level that they probably wouldn't see it, but would be okay.
Yeah, okay.
I like that you go to urine immediately.
Well, I'm just thinking, so this is one that when you make this one probably needs to be kilned, because if not, it's going to start like growing. It's going to be very organic.
What happens if you put urine in a kiln? Can you imagine? She's like, not another witch putting stuff in the clay.
I suspect once they put those glazes on it, no one smells
no
one smells your urine. Like no one will hear you scream. No one will smell your urine.
Okay, now I have to think about what I want to put in, but okay.
I love that. Yeah,
it just got witchier.
It got like the witchy element of it just like exploded. Okay, well, Well, enjoy. It sounds like, well, you have a few more, several classes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you have plenty of time to explore the possibilities. Yay,
I do.
Good.
Hopefully I'll start making more things that are actual cup-like instead of like modern art pieces, but I'm very excited to continue because I have a few months of learning.
Okay,
so.
okay, good. Yay, congratulations. Well, please do keep us surprised.
I will.
Okay,
I do think it is meaningful work though.
Yeah. Nice segue. So speaking of which, I just wanted to mention, because we had talked, we talked about Brene Brown and how much we love her, and her thinking, her philosophy, and the ways in which she, encourages people to think about themselves in I think really intentional, but also very supportive and guilt-free ways. So we've done 3 of her guideposts so far. One is cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbing and powerlessness, cultivating gratitude and joy, letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark, and cultivating intuition and trusting faith, letting go of the need for certainty. And one of the things I love about about these guideposts is that it's going towards something, and then the other part of it is what you let go so that you can go forward, right? And I just think that's I find myself kind of sitting in one area or the other, and having them both on one page in one line encourages me to just think of myself a lot more holistically. So go Brene Brown.
I love it. I think you and I said this in a previous episode. It's very much like a light and shadow opportunity. Like there's definitely both sides going on of like the work of what I'm bringing in and the work of going out. It just feels very like ocean-like, in and out. It feels very witchy.
Yeah. And I even love the terms that she's created for these guideposts. Like the word cultivating. I think that's I think it's important. It's a really useful term because it's I think of it as kind of like a gardener, or when you cultivate something, like you might plant the seed, and then later you're going to fertilize, or obviously I don't know what I'm doing, but and then you're going to maybe weed, and so it's a constant. It's a process.
Yes,
it's not like, okay, you do this, done, or you do this, here's the product, done. And so I think that encourages me, as I'm doing personal development, to recognize that it's a process. And, sometimes I'm going to get more rain or less rain. Sometimes, not all the seeds are going to catch. But that idea of this being, that the work, the meaningfulness of my work is because of this cultivation. So it gets me out of this kind of dominant culture thinking of, okay, I'm going to apply for a job. I'm going to, present the best face I can, maybe lie a little bit, or, fluff up my resume so I can get this job. So I'm going to apply for it and get this job. And then I'm going to have this job. And then what do we do,
and
right?
Then success.
And then I'm going to keep this job,
Yeah.
or I'm going to leave this job and get a better job. But what she's talking about is that there's this whole process that is the work. And so maybe some of the work is getting to the work, some of it is leaving, but it's all this long organic process. And so cultivating, I just think is a brilliant word for that.
I do too. It's actually like one of my favorite words in my journey with myself, because sometimes I expect things to be either a light switch where it just happens or it stops happening, or like very capitalist, like I can just go get it.
Yes, go
so
get
like
it.
Where do I go get happiness? Like where is happiness? Or I turn on this happiness switch, or I turn off the sad switch.
Yeah. Like what book do I need to read to get happiness?
So I will read the book, and then I will obtain the happiness. Happiness done. Happiness achieved. But to add like to what you're saying, it's this cultivating practice, and not to skip too much ahead, but cultivating meaningful work. I think for me, cultivating all of these guideposts is meaningful work.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that too. But yeah, I mean, so that whole idea of this intentionality, that it's time, that it's focus, attention. And it's not just me, right? So when I'm cultivating, a plant, I do actually have some plants, so it's, I mean, you wouldn't know it to hear me, but I do. But it's not just, what Kimberlyn does. Kimberlyn puts the seed in, Kimberlyn does that, and then she has a plant. No, Kimberlyn puts the seed in, and then the plant decides, I think I need more sun. So I'm just going to lay here till you give me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm only one person in this process. And so using the term cultivating reminds me of that, okay, my mind can make these decisions, but my heart, my skin, the world around me, we all have to kind of pull together if we're going to go in this direction, if that's what we're supposed to be doing, right? Mm-hmm.
It is.
I'm just sitting.
Not that I'm here to tell people what's supposed to, but my belief is that is the direction I think the world would be better if we were in a cultivating mindset.
Yeah, and then also I think it keeps us from falling into the idea that work is basically a job, or it's our employment, or it's our career, or it's our ladder to success. So actually, let's go ahead and start talking about work.
Well, because whenever it says cultivating meaningful work, the first thing I think of is my job, my 9 to 5. So, but then when I take a step back, then I think, oh, maybe there's more there to it.
Oh, I think so too. I think so. So one of the things I put down is that it isn't necessarily your job. It can be, and for many people, it probably is. But it's more, or how you make money. But it's more this, it's these gifts and talents that we have, things that we're good at, things that give us joy, things that we bless the world with. And so that could be our work. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it doesn't have to be our 9 to 5. The idea of cultivating meaningful work is, I think, this intentionality of us actually sitting down and deciding what that looks like, right? So what our mission in the world might be.
I don't think that is a common... It is not my perception that is a common thing that our culture supports people in doing.
That was very diplomatic.
Thank you. I think the messages that I receive from our culture is you're supposed to go to work, and then you come home, and then you probably have 2.5 children that you are raising with your heterosexual partner, and then maybe you go to church on Sunday, and then you repeat until you die.
I'm gonna actually add a few more steps to that.
Okay.
You go to school.
Okay.
So you can learn the skills so that you can get this job that's going to make money, so that you can do the blah 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 blah. Yeah. So yeah, and it is actually a process, but we're not encouraged to think of it as a process. We're encouraged you get a degree as opposed. We talked about this last time with schools and commencements and. But you get a degree, and then once you got that degree, you have that degree, and that makes you something. And then when you have that degree, you can put it on your resume, and then you can talk to people about your degree or whatever, and then you can get a job, and then that says something about you. We can decide what that looks like. Then when you have that job, then you're going to do really, really well at that job and make more and more money. And what's the next step? And I guess you just use that money to buy a bigger house or to take care of your 2.5 kids.
Yeah.
Or your spouse. Or the divorce, whatever. But let me not go there.
But what I don't hear you saying as you narrate that is language of cultivating. It's like more of that light switch or capitalist of get. You get your degree.
Yes.
You get the job. You get more money. You get a bigger house. And
you get the spouse. You get the children.
And I'm just curious around what that cultivating would look like if our culture was more focused on finding meaningful work. And again, not saying then everybody needs to be I think as a teacher, I find meaning in my work, but I'm not saying everyone needs to be a teacher or a doctor or a veterinarian. But if they found meaning in their work, whatever that was, of being the best loving father that they could, providing meaningful nurturing to their children, or in a religious setting, or whatever they love.
Yes.
Knitting.
Yes. So let's take that step. I think that's an important part of it. At least that's what I'm taking away from her guidepost, is that meaningful work is not necessarily, as you said, your 9 to 5. It's, these things that you're good at, or you want to be good at, or you're playing with the idea of me as you're throwing it all over.
Throwing the clay all over the room.
Or something that gives you joy or satisfaction or and cultivating that is actually our work. And it's not one of those, follow your bliss and the money will follow, that type of thing. But the idea that cultivating meaningful work is actually doing the things that make you shine in the world, because that's what the world needs, in my opinion.
I agree. And I wonder what the world would be like if we did that, if we did what you said. What if everyone had the courage and the support.
Yes.
To show up as something meaningful to them. Like, what would that be?
Yeah.
What would the world be like?
Girl.
If people had the capacity and the support to do whatever it was for them, whether it was gardening or like knitting, whatever it was. Yeah. And I do want to point out, though, something I really think that is amazing, and I see this as a microcosm in our circle, is I am so grateful that, for example, there's a woman in our circle who does astrology. I love that. And she's been on our show. She's such a wealth of knowledge. And I love getting her emails and videos about stuff like that, because I am not interested in that at all as something that I devote my time and energy to. Yeah. But I am better for having her share her light.
Exactly. I mean, so that's, when we talk about, when she says this is a guidepost for, I think it's a guidepost for a meaningful life or something like that. Why? Well, because when people do this, every time someone does something that makes their heart, burst open and allows them to shine, they are brightening the world. They are bringing more light to the world. They're bringing more joy to the world. So just by virtue of me finding something that I love to do and doing it, I am making the world a better place. And other people won't think that because they don't see a measurable product. But this is in my opinion, that I am raising the vibration of the world when I do something like that. And so that's why it's so important, not because it'll make me a happier person, though it probably will, but if everyone just did, as you said, did something that just gave them so much joy, just imagine how like the atmosphere of this world would be different if joy, as opposed to fear or scarcity or anger, was the predominant emotion in our environment, right? And so in my opinion, that's why it's so important, because we just become better versions of ourselves, and the world becomes better when we are doing the things that we do best, that we enjoy doing, that bring joy to other people. So I'm sure the person, having talked with her, doing astrology is her jam and makes her happy. But it also makes you happy that she's doing this, because there's product, there's content that you can then enjoy. But in my opinion, her joy in doing that is also a part of the thing that I think helps us all as we're doing our meaningful work, baby.
Yeah, just listening to her. Sometimes she posts videos, or she'll email us videos, and I'll listen to the video of her, and hearing the way she sounds as she's talking about the stuff that she is clearly very excited about and into. If it weren't for her, I would probably consume zero astrology content, because it's just not anything that I have in my life. Yeah. But because of her, I consume a lot of it, not because it's astrology, although I do think that that's cool. It's because of her passion behind it.
And the way she explains it, so that when she says something, I think, wow. And I get insight into myself, even though she's not talking about me. She's talking about Capricorn or Uranus or Neptune or something. But I get insight into myself just because, like, I think she's raising the vibration, and what is it? A rising tide lifts all boats. Her raising the vibration helps me to get in touch with parts of myself that I might not have been able to before. Agreed. So it's good for us to cultivate.
So let's all do it.
Let's all do it. Why don't we do it then? You might ask.
Well, I think
I'm asking.
well, I kind of already mentioned it. I think our dominant culture really is not. Well, you can't capitalize. It's much harder to capitalize off of passion
and joy
than it is on product.
Yeah. Oh,
and so, in the framework of a capitalistic system, it's less. I perceive it as being less about bringing my deepest joy to the world's deepest need, and more about, the thingamabob needs to be made and put into the place.
Yeah, and
so that the cogs can turn.
That's right. So, and the person who's best able to do that is the one who's going to get the money.
Yes.
Yeah. So regardless of whether they like to do it, they want to do it, if they're good at it, that's what we're very encouraged to do. Oh, you're good at that. So, like, I think you've talked about this before with dancing or something. They say, are you going to make money at it?
Yeah.
And so, because that is our culture, it's, this idea that effort is rewarded by something tangible like money. Effort is, or it could be acknowledgement, recognition. It can be that, but only if you can monetize that. I mean, so, and then you demonstrate that you are this valuable cog by showing the results of your work, and that's usually displays of wealth or success or travel. These images that we have of what it means to make it, right? Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I think our culture places such value on that getting ahead. And what are our measurements of success? My measurement of my success is that I drive a fancy car, or I have a big house, or I have a job title, or my body looks a certain way.
Oh, yeah.
Or I go on vacations and post it on social media.
In really, sexy, beautiful places.
Yes. Yeah. That I'm married, that I have 2.5 children, whatever it is. And I don't see a lot of what I would describe as the wealth that comes from meaningful work being valued. In fact, that feels very counterculture to me.
So here's a confession.
Okay.
So I'm retiring.
What?
I know, it's a big surprise.
That's not, you've been saying that on the podcast.
I know, for about 3 years. And even before, long before, I've been wondering, I've been trying to sit with the role that academia plays in perpetuating this system. The things that we teach our students, both intentionally teaching them in terms of content, and then teaching them unintentionally by what we do and say and what we value in a student and in their behavior and what we encourage and what we reward. And I have to say that academia bears a lot of responsibility for perpetuating a lot of these things. And I'm just going to say this. As a teacher participating in a system of education, that I bear the responsibility for kind of perpetuating this. I say to my students that it's really, and I teach in the music department, so of course, this is a part of the reward, is to say, just make music because it makes you joyful, and you don't have to necessarily get an orchestra job. You don't have to necessarily do this. And then I say, you can go ahead and do it, be a chemist and make music to you know what I mean? I still kind of, I still tap dance around these ideas of being a productive member of society, even when I am even when I at least am telling myself that I'm encouraging these students to be better versions of themselves. But I'm a part of the system. I have to give exams. I have to, not anymore, but I gave my last exam. But you know what I'm saying? And so that's one of the things that I have to sit with, is that I'm sitting here on my podcast railing against this, this society, and I'm an integral part of, at least I have been an integral part of perpetuating a lot of these stereotypes, a lot of these goals. I've been monopolizing the conversation.
No. I appreciate what you're saying, and I think you're bringing up a really powerful point to me, which is, so I feel like it's like a siren song of money, work, status, image, that I'm being pulled in one way, which the other way then is like meaningfulness. But it's actually not a binary. It's not one or the other. There can be overlap. And so even I hear you saying like, because I'm also an educator, like we are part of that system. And like, what if we found some of that meaningfulness, and it does feel like a constant fight against that siren song. Sometimes I equate it to like feeling like I'm falling asleep and like trying to stay awake, stay aware and stay conscious of what's going on. But I think that I can find meaningfulness in anything.
And I think that's Brene Brown's point, is that the meaningfulness is not what society says it is. The shoulds and the supposed tos, right? Because that's what we're supposed to be letting go of. But it's really what our spirit rejoices in.
So for example, like for me, meaningfulness looks like leaving my work at work as often as I can. It means finding meaningfulness in the work that I do, which I do find a lot of meaningfulness in the work I do. I love my job. And then it means finding meaningfulness in the things that I do outside of work, like my spiritual community, my dance community, my acro community, my relationships with people I love, being aware of spending time with my nephew and my niece. Like I find a lot of meaning in those things. And what I'm really wanting to get at is that's for me. Other people may find meaningfulness in other places, and just because it's different from mine, and maybe it is more focused on work for them, or less focused on work for them, or they only work inside of the home and not outside of the home, or they work with a different spiritual community. Like my prescription for what meaningful work is not to be applied to everyone else.
Of course,
it's individual.
Yeah. No, I think that's super important because, I think ultimately, we are our own authority. We've said that a number of times. We're our own spiritual authority, our own physical, emotional authority, and so who knows better what makes our soul sing? My soul. Who knows better about what makes my soul sing than me? Right? Hopefully, I'm that in touch with myself. And every time I allow more and more of that authenticity to show, I'm allowing myself to find the meaningfulness in whatever it is that I'm pursuing at the time, or doing, or moving towards, or whatever. So it could be a number of different things. It could be something that I'm doing at that moment. It could be preparing for, I'd really like to throw pots. So, I'm going to learn because I really want to make a big, tall blue vase or whatever. And that could be so, and that might be not antithetical, but, not the way you're approaching it, but that's how I'm finding meaning in that. And, I think that's super important because what we're encouraged to do is just the opposite. We're encouraged to buy into what other people think of me as, and that's my meaningfulness. That's where I am contributing. And Oof. So this work allows us to kind of move away from the shoulds and the supposed to and the expectations of others and of our society. And as you said, I think the word you used earlier was courageous, or courage. Allow us to be more courageous as we become more and more ourselves. Like, be comfortable being ourselves when ourselves is not the pretty, shiny, successful model. Not physical model, but you know what I mean. That goals that we've been set for ourselves, that we've been set.
Wow, I love what you said there about like how vulnerable that is to show up and to say like, this is meaningful work for me, and this is what I care about. Like, that's so vulnerable and scary. And there are times whenever I feel that vulnerability, that rawness, that exposedness, whenever I'm really doing something I love. How I can feel so exposed when I'm doing what I really, really, really love, especially whenever it's not something super valued by our dominant culture. And then how much safer it is to rest in I'm working hard and then I'm going to get a promotion. I'm going to get that external validation that I'm doing a good job. And then I get to move to the office with a slightly bigger window that's farther down the hallway. And then I can I can look at the office placement as okay, only 4 more offices until I get to that really cool part of, and I'm not judging that necessarily because that makes sense.
So okay. So let's not judge, but I'd like to kind of address that, because when I do that, if that's not following, my joy, if that's not allowing me to do what I'm good at it and what gives me a great deal of satisfaction, what that means is that I'm literally cutting myself off from the things that make me who I am. And so, that's I might be getting I might be getting the job, I might be getting the money, but I'm also paying the price. I'm paying a price, that's not free. It's not like, oh, I got this great job. No, what I did was I gave away something so that I could get that job. I gave away a part of myself so that I can get that job. So,
yes.
I mean, and this idea that I'm basically cut off from my own inner desires, my own compass. So I think that that's an important thing to recognize, and that's that letting go. So we talked about the cultivating, and then the letting go. By letting go, we are. It's not like we're giving up something that's, it's really kind of good, but we're going to let it go because we really should, because it's better for us. No, we're letting go of this shit that's been tying us down and, has their foot on our necks, And so basically what we're doing is we're rising up. Just saying.
Yes.
Just saying.
A friend of ours just sent you and I a message. I don't think you've seen it yet. She sent it on Instagram to you and I. And it's Viola Davis, and she's being interviewed about her time at Juilliard, and and then one of the quotes she says in it is, "Every day when I wake up and put my feet on the floor, my job is to not betray myself." And what you just said, really, and I don't know if that's word for word what she said. After I watched the video, that's I typed it out because it blew my mind. But that's why I say I really I'm trying to withhold as much judgment as I can, because the system is built for not that. And so it's just a constant drumbeat to fall into that. And then it's a constant awareness for me to try and pull myself away from that. Whenever I'm offered the promotion and I'm like, hell yeah, more money, more prestige. Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second. If I move up, I move away from my kid and my kids. I want to work. I want to be in the trenches with the kids. That's where I feel called. That's where I feel meaningful work is for me.
Yeah. So may I? I'd like to tell you one of the things as I was exploring this, I came across a website, and this is I think he's a therapist, Patrick Buggy, and he's using Brene Brown's Guidepost, but he has it as the 10 guideposts for wholehearted living, an actionable guide. So he uses her guideposts, and then he says, so what does it mean? What does that look like on the ground? And one of the things he talks about, I love this when people say don't shit on yourself. Yeah. So when he says, when you notice that you're shitting on yourself, shoulding on yourselves, pause and switch directions. And that's it sounds like that's what you're talking about. This, that not drop should and supposed to from your vocabulary and replace it with want. So what happens if you say, I should really work hard and get this raise? And if you say, I want to, do you really want to work really hard and get that raise? Right? So the idea being that instead of saying this, I should do this, say, I want, and then sit with that. And you may not know the answer right away. I may not know the answer. I reference. I may not know the answer right away, but cultivating meaningful work often means cultivating a space where I can sit and figure out sit and allow myself to recognize what that looks like. as opposed to letting the world around me tell me what, what that is. And something else, he says, this is Patrick Buggy, reflect on what your unique gifts are and start sharing those with the world.
I love that. And that's vulnerable. That can be vulnerable. That can be scary. I'm just holding some humility. Like, I just feel like we're not asking people, like, touch the tip of your nose with your finger. Like, it's not that easy. Like I sat out and I texted you. I was sitting out in front of the UTSA class and the ceramics class, and I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know anybody here. I don't know which building I'm going to. I don't know if I don't know what's and I'm like just wanting to drive home. It's scary, and that's just a ceramics class.
Well, not just. I mean, it's a ceramics class.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's less about the ceramics and throwing, though that might be satisfying, and it's more about, okay, I'm chipping away a part of myself. What's under there? And is it? Well, I like what's under there. So
yeah. So I would like to see what's under there when we talk about magical practice.
Yes. So first off, I want to talk about the idea of cultivating meaningful work, and we talked about what work means often in the dominant culture, but in many of our witchy circles, work means something totally different. At least my experience of it is that that's the case. That we talk about the working as like the center or the juicy part of our ritual, like everything that's the I don't know, goal maybe. And so when we use the word work, it's less about something you're slogging through, and it's like, okay, this is what we're all going to do. Now we're going to do this, and then something magical is going to happen, and then we're going to do that. I don't know what's going to happen here, but let's go. And that's working. And can you imagine if that was what work was like outside of our circle, like everywhere else? Like how juicy life would be.
That's juicy.
Yeah. So I love that idea of work just being something that's super, super powerful. It can be productive, and often it is, but it's just playing with the power and playing with the opportunity and playing with, in our case, the magic and the energy, and seeing what comes out of that. That to me is like and they often call it, there's in some circles, I think it's more Wiccan and maybe Gardnerian. They call it the great work. Have you heard that term before? There might be a sexual element there. I'm not quite sure. I mean, like they might, like the god and the goddess might be fucking, but I'm not quite sure about that.
Oh, I've heard it called the great rite.
Oh, that's a great right. Okay, no, the great work is something else.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thanks for. Okay, so I was thinking, okay, maybe I'm steering us wrong, and I was, but the idea of, like this is this important thing that we, as a group, we're going to all focus on and put our energy towards, and as we've talked about this with a ritual before. There could be 30 of us in this circle, and everyone's experience of it will probably be different, even though we're doing communal work, right? And so to me, that's an example of this meaningfulness where we're all committed, we're pulling together for this energetic goal, and we're going to get to enjoy our individual experience of it. Like, wow. I mean, can you imagine if that was the model out in the real world?
I can't imagine. I do imagine. And I think what you're pointing at is something that is really important to me and meaningful work, which is less consuming, more creating. And that's something that our circle has taught me. Because now whenever I go to rituals that are not our circle or some of the other circles that you and I have noticed are drawn to work with, it can be very like I go and I consume, I witness it. I go watch the ritual.
It's more performative, maybe?
It is very performative. Like people are doing the work and I am witnessing it.
Yeah,
and
you're holding energy, maybe.
I'm partaking in it by being a part of the container with which it is happening. But something I find powerful that works for me is being a part of our circle where I am a meaningful part of the ritual.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I am not spectating the ritual. And like you just said, that could mean that each one of us in ritual are having a totally different experience and it's meaningful in a different way. but we're all having this meaningful work or have the opportunity to have it together.
Yeah, we're creating it communally, and creating something communally that we're experiencing individually, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I also think that something I really appreciate, and I saw this, I learned this from witnessing it in our circle, is using the workings of a magical practice as a means of contribution, not just to myself, but oftentimes I see that we are doing work personally, and then I have the opportunity to then send that energy out into the world. And like you mentioned earlier, like with our friend who's the astrologer, because she's vibing on what she loves, it raises that vibration. And so she's not doing it for that point. I'm vibing on what I love to raise the vibration. I'm doing it, and then this is all, like, look at this wondrous stuff that happens because of it. We're all lifted.
Yeah. And I think, and I don't mean to say that this doesn't happen out in people's jobs and in their, in their vocations, et cetera. I mean, I would hope that it does, enough that's why we keep doing it, right? And I just see that there's such a dearth of that there's so many opportunities for people to maybe explore that, but we're not trained to, we're not taught to, we don't know how to. We know how to do the 9 to 5 and show up and then leave and complain about it, and but we're not trained to show how, we're not trained to learn how to cultivate the meaning in the work that we're doing at that moment, because there's a beauty in being able to take care of your children and to take care of your family. There's a beauty in that. And so what can be cultivated in that moment and something that someone else, you might be tempted to look at as not necessarily contributing to the growth of your soul or whatever, right? So there is that as well. And I don't want to take away from that, but I want to encourage our listeners and encourage myself really to recognize that I'm missing so many opportunities. That's the way I want to think about it. That there's so many places where I could be, like you say, vibing and raising the vibration, and I don't recognize it at the time, or I let it pass me by for a number of different reasons.
I agree, and I'm grateful that my spiritual practice holds space for that.
Yes. And models it so that maybe, we can have a little bit of that here and a little bit of that. And I'm retiring. And one of the things someone said at my retirement dinner was the fact that they could always come into my office and I'd have like my essential oil diffuser going on, or I have music playing, and they could just come in and just either just kind of like relax for a moment or vent or whatever, and that I could hold that space. So on a certain part of my job at my school was holding that energy. So that, cultivating that, even though it may not have been the part that I'm getting paid for, it's not contact with the students or grading or whatever, but that is a part of the work. That is a part of my working there.
Can I just twinkle at that for just a second? And because I think what you're saying is really powerful. If we just focus on the essential oil diffuser, you have an essential oil diffuser in your office at your work, and the joy that brought you. And maybe how it elevated you, your energy, right? And then other people walked in and knew that was happening and enjoyed it, right?
Yes.
And then perhaps because you had that diffuser going, you then would go to class and your energy would be slightly more positive or whatever, right? Like I just want to.
That's a perfect
use
analogy.
That as saying cultivating these meaningful work experiences doesn't have to be I'm quitting my job and I'm going to move to Costa Rica and farm only tomatoes, raw organic tomatoes.
And live in a yurt.
It doesn't have to be that. It can be what brings me joy? What can I do to bring a little bit more meaningfulness into this thing that feeds my family and pays my mortgage?
Exactly.
I'm going to plug in this diffuser. Because someone else could come in there and be like, it smells like feet in here. What are you doing? Why do you have this woo-woo diffuser? But it's courageous of you to put up that diffuser.
I never thought of that as being, shown some courage.
I think so.
Wow. Well, can I just tell you just a real side story? I have one. There's one oil called Valor, and that's to help you face challenging moments. And I had one student who was really, really sweet, but needed a lot of advising. This was one of my advisees, not one of me. And so after a while, he would come and he'd say, when I come in, this place always smells so good. And I'm like, honey, if you only... Okay, let's sit down and talk.
Like, you don't need bottles of Valor. I have gone through working with you. You don't even know it.
But yeah, thank you for. I love that. I never thought of it that way, but thank you so much for sharing that. That gives me. That makes me feel better.
I love it,
Yeah,
and that's
you.
actually something I love about you. Anytime, like, I'm remembering times of being on the plane with you, and if I would say whatever, and you'd be like, "Here's an essential oil," and I just
Here's an oil for that.
I just felt loved and cared for.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. So tell us a little bit about the poem that we're going to read today.
So our poem is by Rose Cook, and it's from a book called Notes from a Bright Field from 2013, and then it's also in Life Saving Poems from 2015. And so she's famous for her poetry being very simple, but having a lot of nuance to it.
Oh, good. Okay.
And this is called A Poem for Someone Who is Juggling Her Life.
This is a poem for someone who is juggling her life. Be still sometimes. Be still sometimes.
It needs repeating over and over to catch your attention over and over because someone juggling her life finds it difficult to hear.
Be still sometimes. Be still sometimes. Let it all fall sometimes. Beautiful.
Thank you for being still and falling here with us as we talk about Brene Brown's Gifts of Imperfection. We hope you have enjoyed the magic that has unfolded here at Witchy Wit.
It would be great if you would help make Witchy Wit possible and get access to exclusive content by donating on Patreon.
We'd love it if you join our Witchy community and enjoy shareable content on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Would you do us a big favor and support us by rating and reviewing us wherever you get your podcasts? It's free and helps witchy folks find us.
Feel free to email us at witchywitpodcast@gmail.com. We love to hear from our community. Reach out and let us know what's brewing in your cauldron.
New episodes are released every second and fourth Friday. Follow us on your favorite podcasting platform so our episodes go right to your playlist. You can listen as you ride your broom.
Stay witchy, y'all!